Hello, my name is Dwi Sobodo, and today I'll be presenting on the topic of the effects of information technology on grade school children. Computers are praised as an incredible intellectual tool in our society. It plays such a big role in our everyday life. It has allowed us to do things much more quickly, more efficiently, and more professionally. As such, we have seen information technology highly prevalent in almost all grade schools throughout the nation. In most schools, we usually find computers, educational softwares, and access to the internet. In fact, in 2003, 100% of American schools had access to the internet. The No Child Left Behind education mandates of 2001 require all students to be computer literate by the 8th grade. There are several reasons why IT is a must in grade schools. Firstly, as IT becomes more pervasive in the US society, unfamiliarity with the IT will increasingly limit students' economic and educational opportunities. Secondly, there are more engaging methods of teaching using IT, which were previously not possible in conventional classroom instructions. With the introduction of learning software that teaches grade school students various subjects, teachers are reporting higher levels of engagement between students and their work, as well as amongst peers. As such, we have seen IT being made available in grade schools so as to expose our children at as an early age as possible. The implementation of IT in schools is considered to have a double-edged sword effect. Let me point out several positive impacts of IT users in school. Information technology fills several roles in the elementary school environment. Teachers and administrators use computer software to keep track of grades, facilitate lessons, and communicate with professional peers and parents. Students make use of information technology as part of lessons on spreadsheets, word processors, internet research, and other activities. Parents in an elementary school environment uses information technology to keep track of their child's progress and communicate with teachers and administrators. In fact, the use of IT has often replaced the need for parent-teachers meeting that schools used to have. IT has indeed fulfilled the role of database keeping, being a good communication tool between students, teachers, and parents, and enhanced the way school children learn their materials. By implementing IT in schools, teachers have also reported most students showing increased level of motivations and self-esteem. Teachers and students are sometimes surprised at the level of technology-based accomplishment displayed by students who have shown much less initiative with more conventional academic tasks. Students clearly take pride in being able to use the same computer tools employed by professionals. By giving students similar technology tools, schools are implicitly giving weight to their school activities, hence imparting to the students a sense of importance on their work. Teachers also observed that students who were given IT were able to handle more complex assignments and do more higher order skills because of the support and capabilities provided by technology. By having been exposed to an IT at early age, students, even at the elementary school levels, are able to acquire an impressive amount of skills with a broad range of computer software. Although the specific computer tools in use will likely change before these students enter the world of work, the students acquire a basic understanding of how various classes of computer tools behave and a confidence about being able to learn the new tools that will support their learning of new software applications. The other positive impact of implementation of IT in schools is an increased inclination on the part of students to work cooperatively and to provide peer tutoring. Technology-based tasks often involve many subtasks, leading to situations where students need help and find their neighbor a good and convenient source of assistance. Students who have mastered specific computer skills generally derive pride and enjoyment from helping others. Some of the negative effects of implementing IT schools are the possible adverse health effects IT has on children. Some of these health effects include headaches, neck aches, back aches, eye strain, carpal tunnel syndrome, and myopia. While these side effects may seem trivial on its own and will generally disappear, long-term exposure to computers may eventually take a toll on the eyes, cause incorrect body postures that may eventually lead to permanent body aches and long-term nerve damages. When a student is doing work on a computer, the eye blinks approximately 6 to 8 times a minute, as opposed to 16 to 20 times a minute when they are not. This is largely the cause of eye strain, blurry vision, and other anomalies associated with the eye organ. Such toll on the vision is costing the US economy approximately $1.5 to $2 billion annually. Incorrect sitting postures as well as one-size-fits-all computer hardware such as keyboard and mouse forces smaller or larger brain children to have to adapt instead of the other way around. This often exerts strains on the nerves and causes carpal tunnel syndrome and body aches. There are also negative social effects associated with using IT in schools. Even many of us adults have grown to be overly dependent on automatic features in word processors such as spelling and grammar check. If children were to allow use of such features at a young age, they may soon dismiss the importance of knowing good grammar because there is an automation for it. Next, the use of IT has also greatly reduced the amount of time spent on outdoor activities. IT is not only made available in schools, but it's also largely available at almost all US households. Children develop a strong connection to IT through the use of game software and social networking. As such, these game software are replacing the playtime that children used to have outdoors, and the social networking sites are replacing physical social engagements. The third negative impact of implementing IT in schools is the issue of exposure to unwanted or restricted materials. This may not have been as prevalent years before, but with the proliferation of Web 2.0, information is exchanged more readily than before. Even with tools such as parental controls, restricted materials such as pornography are still being passed on around peers through the use of emails or social networking sites. Additionally, the use of internet in accomplishing their work has also opened up the opportunity of plagiarism on the part of the students. Lastly, there is the issue of costs when implementing IT. Not every school in the nation can afford implementing similar levels of IT. Each time computing power or technology increases, it is ahead of the capacity and budget of public schools, leaving them with outdated models and software. In fact, a report showed that up-to-date computers are more likely to be found in affluent suburban schools and poorer inner city or rural schools, usually have older models. As was mentioned earlier in the presentation how IT illiteracy creates economic disadvantage later on in a child's life, such disparity in IT implementation means that children from different schools will have different levels of economic advantages later on in their lives. This further increases the gap between the haves and have-not, as children of richer families can afford those affluent suburban schools, while children of families with lesser capabilities can only afford inner schools. Let me present about the framework for implementing IT in schools. Firstly, schools have to ensure ample budget allocation to follow through on the entire IT project. If schools were to discover insufficient budget, there are foundations such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that will provide funding for IT-related projects. Secondly, an IT director needs to be appointed to oversee the entire implementation of the project. This IT director will be responsible for as little wastage of the budget as possible. Next, adequate training needs to be provided for the teachers. The teachers and the IT director should plan the scope of implementation of the project. The teachers need to suggest what classes will be better taught using IT and which ones can do without. The software and the hardware then needs to be geared towards providing for those classes. Next, proper safeguard software needs to be in place. Software such as parental controls needs to be in place to prevent access to restricted materials, and firewalls needs to be in place to prevent the infrastructure in the school from being misused. Finally, students need to receive proper instructions on the computer usage and the preventative measures they need to take to prevent adverse health effects. Finally, there are great prospects of IT implementation in schools. For example, some schools in Singapore have already replaced books with tablet PCs. This way, students no longer have to carry heavy books to school. With the use of tablet PCs, students are ensured continuous access to the internet for research, anytime, anywhere, and more reading can be stored in a more compact device. Secondly, Web 2.0 tools have also allowed schools to provide IT services at little or no cost. Virtualization of servers is one way on how schools are cutting back on IT spending, yet providing more. Web 2.0 also acts as a mediating technology and information asymmetry shrinker because they allow students from one school to collaborate with those from other schools. This can ultimately help bridge between the disparity of the curriculum of richer suburban schools and poorer inner city schools. Lastly, 3D multimedia experience has allowed students to further explore science and other subjects. Through the use of 3D, students are showing higher levels of engagement with the subject matter.